Well, welcome everybody to today's little Facebook Live with my very special guest, who I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. But to be honest, I'm not sure she's going to need a huge amount of introduction because she's so famous around the world. Now, we've got a little 2-minute 30 countdown going on there, so I thought we'll just wait for a few people to join us live. We might just have a quick chat. Nicola, was the last time we were together on a Facebook Live, was that actually for the Piano Pivot, or have we done one since then?
No, I think the Piano Pivot was the last Facebook Live. Yeah, definitely.
Right, and I tell you what, when I've been to conferences, and I'm sure you've heard it in your group as well, the feedback I've got about that and that people are still giving me is amazing. So I think we're going to have to get together and do something similar at some stage this year as well.
Yeah, riff on that a little bit. Yeah, I still get emails and comments through about what people are doing with it and stuff, so it's amazing.
Yeah, yep. And look, tell us quickly, what have you been working on at the moment? You've always got new, creative, cool game ideas and things in the mix. What have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been working on lots of composer stuff, so composing and stuff about composers. So the VMT, the Vibrant Music Teaching Library, I've been working on the latest games, which won't be released quite yet, and those are all about different composers, music history and stuff like that, because my members have been asking for that. So stuff, lots of musical puns. The one sitting in front of me right now is called Check Your List. Spelled list, right? So.
Are these known as dad jokes? They would be in Australia.
Oh, I love my dad jokes. They're great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I've also been working on a whole set of lesson plans about teaching composing to students and stuff. So, yeah.
I remember you were sharing your card. You've got some cards, haven't you, with composers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you design those the stylized drawings of each composer?
Yeah, so I drew those, and then the back of them, they have different points for different skills. So like, awesome organist, 55 points, that kind of stuff. So they're battling against each other. Yeah.
I love it. Now we've got a few people live with us now. We've got about 10 people. So say hi, guys. Just pop a comment in. Let us know whereabouts you are. I'm sure there's going to be some familiar names who we can give a little shout out to. So do say hi. I'm using some new software today. So I am hoping that the comments are going to come through and I can actually see them here. And if they are really funny, I can actually drag them onto the screen and we can all see them. So pop them in there. We'd love to see what you're thinking and where you're from, and hopefully. There we go, Jennifer. You are first. So welcome, Jennifer. Nice to see you. All right. So today's chat is about 3 preschool piano essentials for your studio. And we've actually got a free download, which Nicola's got a copy of right there. So this free download, it's a 1-page cheat sheet, effectively, full color. I love how it looks and everything. We're going to allow you to download that right in the comments section with my new Tim bot, my chat bot, a little bit later in the show. So stay tuned for that. I'll give you a bit of a secret code word to test out. That's another new thing I'm trying. Lots of new things today, Nicola. So I think we'll aim to go for about 20 minutes today. And as I've mentioned, look, I don't personally teach any preschool students at the moment. I've taught primary, I've taught secondary, I've taught adults, just about every age group. But Nicola, she is a superstar. And if you haven't met her before, she knows all about preschool teaching, games, fun activities for kids. So Nicola runs a great studio in Ireland. She blogs at colourfulkeys.ie and runs the Vibrant Music Teachers Facebook group, which we mentioned just before. And she also helps me run the Inner Circle and my podcast. So Nicola, thank you very much for staying up late and joining us today.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
So firstly, for those live or on the replay, let us know in the comments while we kick things off. What is your biggest preschooler challenge? We'd love to know that because hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions, and certainly during the course of the next week we'll definitely be able to answer any questions if we don't get time to get to them today. Just pop down, what's your biggest challenge for preschoolers? Great to see Sarah from Utah here, Ruth from sunny Arizona, Monique is here as well, watching from Christchurch. Good to see you, Monique. And Maggie Peter George, that's a familiar name. Hello, Maggie Peter. Great to see you guys. So, yeah, pop down any of your biggest challenges in that comment area. And Nicola, I thought it's a good idea. Why don't we just find out what kind of preschoolers you teach? Are they individuals? Are they in groups? What kind of ages? Let us know.
Yeah, so I consider preschool to be anything under 6, so 5 and under, just to get that cleared up, because school is a different age everywhere. Like, students start school at 4 here, so that's not actually preschool here, but younger students is really what we're talking about. And I teach them mostly these days in what I call buddy lessons, which is where they have some one-on-one time, followed by some overlapping time with the next student. I also teach them in partners, and I've done them in slightly bigger groups as well, and solo lessons. Yeah.
And do you do, or do you do group sessions, randomly, like once a term or something, get groups of kids together?
Yeah, so 4 group lessons a year as well, but those are mixed with all my students. So it could be like a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, and 3 8-year-olds. It could be anything.
Right, got it. And so what are some of the biggest differences that you find between teaching the +5s and under 5s, or wherever our cutoff's going to be?
Yeah, I think 2 of the biggest differences are going to be teaching their way around the piano, which we'll talk about in relation to the cheat sheet, and also the way you deal with technique. Sometimes I get students to me and they've had some, even at a preschool age, they're a transfer student, and they've actually had some teaching where the teacher's been trying to get them to play in that 5-finger position, thumbs on middle C straight away. And that really isn't suitable for a 3, 4, even 5-year-old sometimes, especially in the beginning stages. So it's the way we deal with how they use their hands, because they're just very differently built at this stage.
And we see a lot of it come through, as you mentioned, in transfer students, I find.
Yeah.
With fingers, students. Can you see that on the screen? Yeah.
Yeah.
That are doing all this kind of stuff all over the place, and that's one of the outcomes, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. Fingers bending backwards, and they'll be like wrists below the height of the keys as well, because they're trying to push into it somehow, and that's the way they found that it works, with their whole finger and then their wrist way down below the height of the keys. Exactly the opposite. Just picture the opposite of what you want them to look like.
Right. So we'll go into a little bit more depth on that, because that is one of our 3 essentials that we're going to be talking about today. But let's start in just a moment with number 1. But I did want to say, Beth has asked, is this going to be replayed tomorrow? Beth, this being a Facebook Live, you can access this at any time on my Facebook page. So it just becomes an automatic video that you can continue to watch. And I can see we've got some questions coming through from Emily and Janine too. So I can see those. We'll get to them just a little bit later. But first up, Nicola, take us through number 1 of your essentials.
Okay, so number 1, as I mentioned, is keyboard geography. So this is a subject that probably didn't exist in your mind if you hadn't taught the preschool crowd. But preschoolers aren't going to immediately find their way around the piano. They're not going to necessarily even see the groups of 2 and 3 black keys for what they are. They're definitely not going to just find all the note names on the keyboard by you just telling them it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G all the way from the bottom, which might work for, an older student or an adult student. So it starts with dealing with the 2 groups of black keys. I do that using little dog and gate cards that we put on them, and then finding just the D key in the middle of the 2 black keys and doing that for as long as necessary until they really, really have that, because if they don't, the whole thing's going to fall apart like a house of cards. It's just not going to work. So we need to get really solid with D, then eventually C and E, and later down the track we deal with F, G, A, B as a separate group.
Right.
So they can still be playing on all the keys, right? But we're just not giving them a label until they've got that D key, and then followed by C and E, and then F, G, A, B. So doing loads of activities for that.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the thinking of go for it, explore, make music, create, improvise, but you don't have to give names to everything right up front. That can come later, right?
Yeah, and especially, I've mentioned this before, but here in Ireland, and I think other places are moving this way as well, the schools are teaching in phonics. So they don't teach A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They teach A, B, C, D, or something. I'm not sure. Right. So that's doubly confusing, because at the same time as coming to me when they're 4 for piano lessons, this alphabet is new. They're also trying to learn it in phonics in school at the same time, because they've just started school. So it all just gets confused if we take it even a tiny bit too fast.
Right, right. And this will all depend on the student's age as well, and probably where they are in the world as to what they're learning at school.
Yeah.
I don't think we do that here. So you're saying a student at school over there will learn D, won't be D, it will be D.
D.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, that could be incredibly confusing for a little child.
It is really confusing, and I get why they're doing it. It does make more sense for reading. I guess that's why they moved that way, but makes it confusing for them when they go to us.
And the other thing that I pick up too in what you're saying is just go slowly. Yeah. Spend as long as you need to.
Exactly. Just go as slowly as you can and focus on them having a really good experience in that lesson at that time. Because that's the most important thing, is that they love music for the rest of their life and they've got so much time to learn all this stuff. So.
Yeah. I think it's easy for all of us to move too fast regardless of the age of the child too. So I think this is a really good reminder to just take our time. Let's get it right from the beginning.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go on to number 2, Nicola.
Okay, so number 2 is technique and posture. So this is a huge topic when it comes to preschoolers. The first thing, though, is to get them set up at the piano properly and make sure that that's happening at home. So they need to be up really high. Like, you'll be astounded how much height you need. Your adjustable bench might not even go far enough. I've seen ones that don't. So, imagine a 3-year-old, they just need so much height. So use, I've seen carpet squares used or play mats or anything sturdy to lift them up if you need it on top of the bench. And then a footstool is essential as well. And like I say, you probably know this for your studio, but you need to make sure this happens at home, because I've seen so many problems come through with my students who don't have that set up correctly at home. So get the parents involved, make sure the parents are attending the first few lessons so they can see this happening and how it works, and that they know that it's their job to set this up at home, and get them to take a photo and bring it into you at the studio so you can check that it's actually set up correctly. And then the next thing I would say on technique is playing with one finger. So I tend to subscribe to the way that Piano Safari approaches this, or Tales of a Musical Journey, Irina Gorin, she does this as well. Playing with one finger for the very beginning so that they can feel themselves moving around and move with ease, and not encouraging them to spread out their fingers or even make that curved shape. Particularly in the beginning, they should have a round shape, but it should be with their fingers all grouped together. Right. So that they can support it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that that issue with students' fingers kind of flying up and doing this kind of thing is really attributable to not spending long enough in the student just getting used to the strength and the feeling of the hand working as one unit to play one note at one time, and trying to do this too quickly, because it's too hard getting that fine motor skill.
It's too hard. And even in between those stages, so having them play one finger, but then before I ever get them to play with the other fingers, I get them to tap that on the closed keyboard lid or piano lid or on a table or whatever, and that'll be part of their homework again. So it's not all about playing at this stage. Some of them are just going to be exercises to get them aware of what their fingertips even are, that they have an elbow, that kind of stuff.
That's right. I've even taken on transfer students at older ages that are doing, that fingers are all over the place, and just the sense of relief they almost feel when they can just put one finger down with all. I say this is like a team. You're all working together. Mm-hmm. This finger's going to play, but you're all working together at the same time, and they get a nice sound, and it's comfortable for them. So this is so crucial to work on early on with these littlies, I think. So let's go on to number 3, Nicola.
Number 3, parent involvement. So I mentioned this when it came to the technique stuff, and it really is so important that they get involved from the very beginning. So get them in for the interview at the beginning. Get them in for, if you want to call it a first lesson, do, although I prefer it just to be a meeting, because then there's no expectation of it being a proper lesson and them going home and practicing something. That we just get started with a meeting and we chat about stuff, and we might spend a few minutes at the piano, but it's really just for a laugh, it's not a real lesson. And explain to the parents at that meeting that it is their job to get their child to practice at home, that their job is also to supervise what their child is practicing, So if a 7-year-old and older, yes, the parent still needs to get involved with that and they need to support the practice, but not to the same degree. Like the parent is really going to have to be some kind of practice coach. It's not going to be maybe as much as Suzuki or some system like that would do, but they are going to have to get involved at home. You know, a 4-year-old just cannot practice independently. So at that meeting, I'll emphasize to them the importance of just creating the routine in the beginning. Don't worry if the child goes to the piano and plays one song and is done. That's fine for the first few weeks. They just have to get to the piano every day. That's their number one goal. And then I recommend having the parent sit in on lesson maybe for the first month or so. If you're really uncomfortable with that, maybe have them come in for the last 5-10 minutes of the lesson so that you can review everything together and make sure they know what's going on. But really, I find teachers sometimes balk at this idea of having the parent in the lesson, like they're not comfortable with it. And it is a little bit off-putting maybe in the very beginning, but once you get used to it, it's actually fine, and you'll just become accustomed to them sitting there. They're part of the team, and then they know what's going on, and you get better results.
I think I'm a better teacher when I've got a parent sitting there, because it makes me really make sure I'm doing everything right and focusing and working. Not that I don't normally, but there's just that little bit of extra, like I'm kind of being watched here. So I think it's great. I think it's so crucial, as you say, for preschoolers, 100%, if you can get the student teacher in the lesson. But with any student, having a parent there can really inspire you to up your game that little bit more, I think. I'll just pop on the screen. Amy says parents' expectations at this age need to be realistic as well. I think that's probably a big one. So at that first introduction, first lesson, as you say, making it clear that it is likely going to be slow progress too, right?
Yeah, although I found actually one of the benefits of starting kids at this age is that the parents are not that pushy. Like my parents are very supportive, but you don't get the same expectation of them being at this certain level. They seem to understand that it is going to go slower, at least but you definitely want to say that up front, of course.
Yes.
And what your goals are going to be for them.
So that's our little quick summary, and I want this to be pretty fast. We're going to go through this. We've got some questions which I'm going to get to in just a moment. But look, we've actually created that little freebie. It gives you more details on each of those 3 items. That's what it is there. Nicola's holding it up for you. So here's what to do to grab that. All you need to do is just type the word freebie into the comments section. You can do that right now if you want. FREEBIE, capitals or lowercase. And my fingers are crossed that my little chat bot is going to send you the link for this. So this is going to be really interesting to see what happens. So give it a try, guys. Type freebie into the comments, and that should come through for you. So let's just get to there's a couple of good questions coming through here. Firstly, there was one about group sizes. Let me bring that up on screen. Oh, now all the freebies are coming through, so I can't find it. Let me see. It was, here we go, from Monique. I'll pop it on screen for everyone. What have you found is an ideal group size?
Depends what your goals are, I guess. For piano, I would say 4 is the maximum. If it's music, most ages, that would be the maximum for me. I certainly think it can be done, with students who are a little bit older in slightly bigger groups and keyboard labs and stuff like that, but they're not going to handle anything independently. So you can't expect to leave them at a task and have them do it with logic. Like that's, you have to do so much preparation to get them to do this stuff. So 4 would be my personal maximum. I prefer to work in 2s and 3s actually. Yeah.
Well, it's just, it takes, as you say, they're not going to work independently very much or for very long. So unless you've got 4 eyes and arms and all that kind of stuff, it will be challenging.
Yeah, and even in a solo lesson, like you're spending the entire time interacting much more than you are. You'll feel the difference. Like you need to keep their attention all the time and keep talking and interacting, guiding them much more than an older student. So.
Now, I think we've answered Janine's question, which is on screen, which is she just says home practice expectations. What do you suggest? I think we talked about that.
Yeah, so just the routine in the beginning, that's number 1. You just want to establish your routine. And then once they've done that, they should be getting through their assignment, whatever that is. But it's fine if they're just playing the songs from start to finish in the beginning or, don't expect great practice strategies or something, because their songs are going to be so short. There's not going to be a big deal if they just repeat it twice and do stuff like that. And I would encourage you to, if you are using games, listening activities, all that stuff, that can all go in the practice as well. Don't feel like it has to be pieces at the piano. It can be just, that they have to play this keyboard, key name memory game. That's fine. That's good practice. They need practice finding those keys. So.
Great. And I'll pop this one up here from Emily Wagner from Utah. She says, my biggest challenge with preschoolers is wanting to read music and play songs. Kind of links in with what you just were saying. They tend to love the games, but then lose focus really quickly when trying to play notes.
Okay. Well, it depends if you're getting them to read proper music at the very beginning. That's probably the problem. You need to do some rote work. And if you are already doing rote work and they're having this problem, that still can happen. The biggest key there that I've learned is that you do that song, you do something else, and you come back to that song. Don't be afraid to repeat the same activity at different points during the lesson, because we feel like we want them to repeat it a bunch of times in a row, but actually coming back and forth, that lasagna-based learning is the best way for them to learn. Have you not heard that term before?
No, I haven't. I like it. Or
yeah.
sandwich,
so, yeah.
Layered.
Yeah, but lasagna, because it's just happening again and again and again and again. It's all the sheets of pasta, right?
It's great. I actually, my brother-in-law is a very good cook. He had us over for dinner the other day, and we had lasagna. And I don't know how he does it, but he could make his stack. It's like this high. It's so good. When I do, I don't know about you, Nicola. You're probably a better cook than me. It's too wet and it's too sloppy, and it just goes when you cut into it.
Right, you're putting too much sauce, I'd say.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I do like my sauce. Or maybe the sauce is too runny. I don't know. Anyway, I think we're a bit off topic. Look, thank you everyone for joining us too. We've got had lots of great comments. I think they're the main questions that people asked early on. So if you do have any quick final comments, pop them in the box now. I can see lots of people have written freebie in. So can you give me a thumbs up or a heart or something if that came through okay? And let us know, because this is all new technology, new on-screen videos, new chatbots. So if that was a link, by the way, freebie in the comments if you haven't done that already, and
lots of likes. I think they got it.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at that's looking good. Okay, so now before we wrap things up too, for those of you watching, if you're interested in more in-depth discussion about this topic, Nicola and I are actually going live on our next webinar at exactly the same time next Thursday night or Friday morning, wherever you are in the world. So we're going to cover those sort of managing the Wrigley groups and the technique questions and keeping them focused and all of those kinds of things. What we've talked about today, but much more and in more depth, because we will have a good hour to discuss it. So if that's of interest for you, the webinar is called Toddlers, Technique and Tantrums, How to Thrive Teaching Preschool Piano. It's a super topic, and I'm really looking forward to hanging out again with Nicola. So to find out more about that, you can head to timtopham.com/webinar. And as usual, we'll be giving away a number of bonuses, including, you better tell us, Nicola, there's a few games there, right?
Yes, we've included a few games as well as a sample of our new preschool notebook beginners lesson plan. So you'll see exactly how it all fits together and how we work these things into a lesson.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And yes, this did all come about as part of my original notebook beginners framework. So for those of you who've used that, I've got lots of great feedback. It's sparking a lot of creativity in teachers, which is what I wanted it to do. It's my plan for how you can teach beginner students with notebooks for anything up to 10 weeks or so. And we were getting lots of questions about how you use this same framework for the under 7s or 6s. And so that's what we've been putting together in the background. So we'll be releasing that and telling you more about that at the webinar next Friday. If you did want to join us, timtopham.com/webinar. I should be able to write that on the screen, shouldn't I? I should have planned that. I should have had that already there. Good to see Anya as well. She's one of our members. She's going to be joining us.
That's pronounced Anya. Sorry to steal your English. Anya.
I did actually ask my Irish friend about how to pronounce that when she first joined us because I wanted to get it right. You're right. Anya is what she said. That's true.
Anya.
Yeah. Jennifer, thank you very much. There's some nice comments coming through. Looks like the bot has worked. I'm so pleased. That is just fantastic. Very, very cool. Not sure what the freebie thing means. Have just woken up.
Freebie is to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You can just type that in and you'll be able to get that. And if you're watching the replay, it'll still work for the replay too. So hopefully you can grab it. So look, that was really, really cool. We've gone a tiny bit over time. I wanted to keep it nice and short and sharp. And I think we've covered what we wanted to. So Nicola, anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think that was good. Let's just encourage everyone one more time to come along to the webinar because I'm excited for that next week.
Absolutely, yeah. So timtopham.com/webinar, sign up and you get to hang out with us next week. And it's going to be a similar format to the adult teaching webinar that we did with Tom last month, which is going to be very much a discussion like we're having now, with you guys able to ask questions, quite similar to what we're doing today, but in my kind of webinar platform and using that format. And at the end, I'll share with everyone some information about the Notebook Beginners for Preschool that we have as one of our courses and give you those cool download freebies. All right, lots of freebies everywhere. Okie doke. Thank you so much, Nicola. Great hanging out with you. It's just such a pleasure.
Yeah, super to hang out with you again.
All right, everyone. Have a great day or night, wherever you are in the world. Wishing you all the best, and we'll see you in exactly 7 days for our webinar. Bye-bye.
See you then.